moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything.
But I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to put your little line court. Anything you do is maybe give evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest as reported in factual investigation.
Clip 1. This episode is brought to us by I Spy Audits, so make sure to check the link below. Subscribe to his channel and give him the credit he deserves, because in this episode, Auditor I Spy goes to a BP petrol station to fill up and tries to pay with a £20 coin from the Royal Mint, which is legal tender in the UK. But instead of it being a quick and easy transaction, the staff refused to take it and call the police. And what should have just stayed a simple civil matter turns into chaos when the officers show up and, instead of calming things down, they make it worse by arresting I Spy even though he hadn't committed any crime. And that reckless move backfires big time because I Spy takes it to court and ends up walking away with a massive payout.
Pound coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person at the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do?
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Because is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. We can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she shows up, the officer makes it clear she's not fit to handle the situation, because right away the auditor notices her body cam and asks why she hasn't said it's recording. And the rules are super clear that officers have to tell the public they're being filmed as soon as possible. But instead of admitting that, she just flat out denies such a rule even exists. And then she makes it worse by pushing the auditor for his name even though this isn't a criminal case, but just a civil disagreement with the petrol station. So there's no legal reason to demand ID when no crime has happened, and the officer either didn't know that or just chose to ignore it, both of which are unacceptable for someone wearing the badge.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue. That's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue. Then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you, for making off without payment?
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is. It is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them.
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah. Agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today. Whether we take your details and we deal with it at a later date.
From her own mouth, the officer admits it's a civil dispute. But then she tries to make up some power to demand ID by saying, "We'll sort it out later." And that's just not how policing works, because if there's no suspected crime, there's no power to force anyone to give their details, and she can't just turn a private payment disagreement into a police ID check just because the shop staff are unhappy. And when she said you could be circulated as wanted, that was nothing but a bluff, because wanted markers are for criminal cases like suspects with warrants or people who failed to show up in court, not civil contract disputes. So threatening to treat someone like a criminal just to scare them into complying is a total abuse of authority and basically proves she had no legal footing from the start. And if she really thought a crime was happening, she needed to test the elements like dishonesty, running off, or intent not to pay. But here the auditor stayed, tried to pay, and only argued about the type of payment, which is classic civil territory.
So basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that. No. He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter, however, If he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details and making off without payment, yeah. So I've explained, if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. No. He's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved
but
in.
you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment, but if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Has he paid?
Policy? No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid, and if you walk out the door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
Well, I do.
Because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer comes in and right away makes the situation worse by jumping straight to threats of arrest, which is ridiculous because the auditor was still inside, not even trying to leave, and was openly disputing the payment. So there's no making off without paying, since he never left and clearly had no intent to dodge the bill. And what makes her threat even weaker is the fact that the auditor had already tried to pay with a £20 Royal Mint coin that the cashier refused, which completely kills the idea that he was trying to avoid paying. And under the Theft Act, you need both the act of leaving and the intent not to pay. And neither of those applied here. So by twisting it into a criminal matter, just because she couldn't get his details, the officer only showed she had no real understanding of the law.
Walk out that door now, it is. If you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that the coin can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being. However, we need
I don't intend to. No,
I appreciate
if you
that.
can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details, and we can deal with it at a slower time, we can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
we don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid for the fuel. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately, yeah. We've agreed, we've reasoned with you now, and we've tried to say that if you give us your details, just tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave, you don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The whole back and forth was based on a fake idea, because the officers kept warning, if you leave, like the auditor was about to run off without paying. But that never happened, since he was still inside the shop, still talking, and had already tried to pay with a Royal Mint coin. So they weren't reacting to what he actually did. They were reacting to some scenario they just made up. And that's not law. That's pure fiction. And the excuse that they couldn't confirm who he was without forcing. ID was just as weak, because his number plate was sitting right outside. A simple legal way to check details if they really thought they needed to. But instead of using that, they ignored it and kept pushing for ID they had no right to demand, twisting a civil disagreement into fake grounds for arrest. So instead of fixing the issue, they just blew it up bigger.
Well, I have, because I've handed the coin over. Right. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, and was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so did you contact them today, or was it yesterday or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. We'll agree to disagree.
You don't know that. It is. It's legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right. Okay.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
But if it's a civil issue, I don't need to assist you.
But at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
But I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that coin.
So the auditor is like, I've already handed the coin over, so I don't even have it anymore. And I actually contacted BP head office before I even came here. And the cop jumps in asking, oh, So was that today, yesterday, last week? Like it even matters, and the auditor just says, yeah, before I came in. But then the officer admits she doesn't even know what the 20-pound coin is, literally saying she's confused. Yet somehow she's still threatening him with arrest. And when he calls her out, she tries to brush it off with "we'll agree to disagree," as if that changes the fact it's legal tender. The exact same as a 20-pound note or a 10-pound note. And when he explains it came straight from the Royal Mint, she demands he get someone on the phone to back him up. Which makes no sense, because she already admitted it's a civil issue. And he's right. The police don't need to interfere in civil matters. But she still insists they do because we don't know that coin. Basically proving she doesn't understand the law or the money she's trying to enforce.
It's a
We're
civil
at the risk of
agreement.
being arrested because you haven't given us details and you're going to walk out that door and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a
Make up for
civil.
that payment.
But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's
So,
fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
unlawful
But
arrest.
like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest, okay? And all I'm saying
Well, he
is if you
hasn't.
get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But
you
as
know-
far as I do, then technically, if you walk out the door, it's going to be make up that payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
You give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you
Is it urgent?
that he said he would take the coin
But he isn't our
if
thing.
I take my mask off.
Right, well I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with that way. For all I know, that vehicle could be registered to somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't
Once
need
you
to
leave
assist
this
you.
situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go
But I
with,
don't
but you
need
still
to assist
refusing
you.
to. Are you offering to give
Because
the
you're
staff,
wrong.
not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
Fine, you can
So-
prove that at court.
I've
You
got
can prove
that.
that at court
That's
then.
fine. You can prove that
Yeah.
at court.
Right, well this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't
I
have to
haven't-
say anything
but I haven't made off.
defence. We don't mention one questions in the little line court. Anything you do is a negative evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest is prompted in factual investigation. Okay?
But I haven't
So
made
I
off.
activate your into caution as well.
I do the fact you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Fails to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Just come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we
Thank
ask
you very much.
everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
And this is the moment where it stops being dumb and turns straight into abuse. The cops actually arrest the auditor for making off without payment, while he's literally still inside the shop saying out loud, "I haven't made off." Like, come on. That should have ended it right there. By law, the offense only exists if someone actually leaves and has the intent to dodge the payment. He hadn't left. He wasn't trying to leave. And he'd already offered a valid form of money. Both ingredients of the crime were missing, and they knew it. The charge was pure fiction, and the arrest was completely indefensible. And now, I Spy himself has an update on how his legal claim turned out.
10 months ago, I walked out of those gates after being falsely arrested for using the £20 coin. The Chief Constable has paid out £4,000 in compensation, but unfortunately he did not apologise at any point, even taking him to court. He went all the way to court, we had the hearing date, and then the Chief Constable saw some sense and paid £4,000 in compensation, but no apology.
So the case goes to court, and the auditor actually walks away with a massive £3,999 payout plus legal costs. That's no pocket change. That's a serious chunk of money for something that never should have happened in the first place. It proves just how weak the police's position was once the whole thing got dragged under legal scrutiny, because instead of defending it, they folded and paid out. But here's the kicker. According to the auditor, the chief constable, the head of the force, never once offered an apology. They handed over thousands of pounds of taxpayer money, basically admitted fault with their wallet, but couldn't even show the basic professionalism to say sorry. That silence says everything. Protecting the image of the force clearly mattered more than accountability. A simple civil dispute over a coin, which should never have needed police, spiraled into a wrongful arrest because ego replaced common sense. And what makes it worse is how the officers try to justify it on the fly, building their case on what-ifs that never happened, twisting reality to invent grounds that didn't exist. That isn't policing, that's bullying in uniform. And when intimidation gets used as a shortcut instead of patience and knowledge, it doesn't just hurt the target. It erodes public trust in the whole system. Because if this can happen over a coin, it can happen over anything. And at the end of it all, nearly £4,000 of taxpayer money was paid out, but not a single word of apology. Proof that they'd rather bury mistakes with cash than fix the culture that caused them. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.